Hello, it's Dr. Meredith Watson, psychoneuroimmunology practitioner, life and business strategist. So excited to have you here with me right now. I was going to talk about today, every day I get to make a new choice, and so do you. There are a lot of reasons to choose fear today. I'm embarking upon some new stories, some new adventures. I'm sure by now you know I'm a recovering people pleasing doormat. So sometimes what others do or don't do or choose to do or choose or don't choose gives me cause to be fearful, scared, anxiety stricken. Basically, what they do or don't do, I get freaked out about it. But I must remember that what others choose to do or choose not to do is rarely about me. And my worth and enoughness is not added into, it's not all ball together. They have their journey and I have my own. Not feeling anxiety around carrying that around and carrying around what part is not mine is scary because I'm accustomed to feeling it. I'm accustomed to getting into it. But I have to remember that it's okay to feel any way that I choose. But not feeling it is very much what I desire. Like, I don't want to get into getting attached to how other people react and what they do or don't do, what they choose or don't choose. I don't want my level of worth and the estimation of the sum total of my enoughness and my worthiness to be estimated or equaled in with what other people do, because then it's saying I'm giving my power to them, and that is definitely not a place that I want to come from. I can't allow my parents, my ex, my daughter, my clients, anyone, and what they choose or choose not to do to be the sum total of how I estimate or equalize my worth. But it is very easy to get caught up in that and wound up in that big ball of fire. But the key is to realize that your choices are your choices, your journey is your journey, and other people's journey and choices are their own to make. And I read this blog post from another colleague of mine talking about oftentimes we are in this place where we want everything to be just so. We want everything to be a certain custom to a certain standard. Everyone doesn't feel the need to rise to our standard. And there are cases where people don't feel like we are at the level of that they would like us to be, and we're not meeting their standards. But we all have a right to set our own standard and only invite the things that are in that standard to be in with our energy and things that we expend our time and energy on. I had an ex-best friend where I literally could see such a better life for her. I could see where she can make these tweaks and those tweaks and this tweak, and she could be living at full capacity. But that's not my choice to make. She has to live her own journey and her own path. And if it bothers me so much, I just remove her from my energy. I just remove her from the circle that I hang out with because it's hard for me to watch her go down in flames as I feel like she is. But that's not my choice to make. There are people who the decisions I make, they don't agree with them. They don't feel like these are the things that I should do, but that's not their choice to make. And I'm fortunate that I get to help people through my products and my level of experience. But I can only help those that want to be helped. Just like people can only help me at the level in which I'm willing to offer or willing to accept their offer of help. You can be friends without feeling that you owe somebody anything or you have to fix anybody. I can be with my ex and not feel like I owe him anything or that he owes me anything or that we owe each other. We can have this platonic friendship if that's what we can mutually decide on. And I can't fix him, and he can't fix me. I can't change him, he can't change me. I love my mom with all my heart. I talk about her all the time, as you well know if you've been following me for any length of time. But the biggest thing for me, now this was a huge thing for me, is not to get caught up in what she does or doesn't do, chooses or doesn't choose, comes or doesn't come, stays or doesn't stay, calls or doesn't call. None of that has to do with me. That's her own energy, her own story, her own bullshit, her own decision. Nothing to do with me. Like, unless I did something, which I didn't in this case, to cause that or to rev that up. But in most cases, whatever people are doing is based on their own line of reference, their own story, their own shit, their own journey, and it has nothing to do with you. Very little, if any. And when I put things out with a call to action, it's not about me whether or not people take me up on that option. I rock and I bring totally awesome ice cream to the yard. But I do not equate my worth and enoughness and my level of impact based on who's taking that offer and going with it because people have their own lines of reference, and that's a very difficult place to come from when you're a type A control freak like I am. But also, the same way that I'm allowed to feel the way I want to feel, other people are too. I'm allowed to, and other people are also allowed to express and feel their feelings in a nonviolent way. It may not be what other people want to hear, may not be what you want to hear, but everyone has a right to feel as they choose to feel, and their lack of response by your feelings or your lack of response to their feelings doesn't negate the feelings or worth of said person who expressed the feelings. You can tell someone, I feel this way. Use I statements. I feel this made me feel. I feel and be coming from a place of honesty and authenticity, but that person may not reply the way you want. I spent years waiting for an apology that never came. I spent years waiting for someone to step up to the plate and they never did. But you have to oftentimes be what you want that person to be, and they may never show up and be what you want them to be, but that doesn't negate that you're deserving of the thing that you want. And for the longest time, my desire was to have these specific things, and I thought if I was a good girl, if I followed the rules, if I didn't get out of the box that people created for me, I would get said things. Until I realized that the things I wanted the most were love, acceptance, validation, belonging. I had to give those things to myself. Everything I desire is mine to have when I manifest and surrender and have and give the space to receive it and allow it into my life. I had to get into my safe space and know it will come by any means that the universe feels necessary as long as I'm doing my aligned massive action on my part. And I can't get hung up into the why and the hows. Just knowing that it's mine to have and it will come is basically all that you can do, and then do your part. You can say, I want $1 million, but what are you doing to get that? Honestly, morally, ethically, on your part, you can put out offers, you can get a second job, but you have to know that what you want is yours to have. If it was in you and if it's being boiled up inside of you, then it is meant to come out into the world through you. And it's very important that you go through life, excuse me, not being apologetic, being unapologetic about what you want and how tenacious you are about going to get it, as long as you're not hurting anyone in the process. And I'll say this. One of the things that I wanted so much was independence from the people that I was related to. I wanted nothing to do with them. They were so unlike me, and I felt like an outcast my entire life. And I used to think, especially after I lost my grandmother, that that was the worst thing I could have done was like cut all ties. But that was for my safety. That was for my well-being. That was for my sanity, and I had to do what was best for me. And if my grandmother were alive today, her only probably hiccup with me would be that Meredith went off and lived her own life and left me behind. That is not a wrong thing to do. I had to do that for my own safety and my own protection and my own sanity and for my own well being. They may not have liked it, they may still not like it. So sorry, something's in my throat. They may not like that, but that doesn't negate the fact that it is a legitimate desire to have your own space and your own energy and your own need to be separate. Some people you have to cut off and they don't like it. But if you're going to save yourself first, which they tell you when you're on a plane, put your oxygen mask on first. Sometimes you have to cut off the strings, that dead weight. You can't continue to go up a hill with a dead weight. You'll never make it, or it'll take you forever. So if you're ready to learn to surrender, allow, be unapologetic, if you're ready to, if you dare, build a passion-based business, check out the links to my business and life bundles in the comments below. I wish you all the excitement and joy and euphoria and all the things that you desire, because you are worthy and everything you want is yours to have. As a child of an infinite source, it is your birthright to feel worthy and alive and loved and accepted and validated and a sense of belonging. And it's okay if all of that comes from within. In fact, it should, because no one can love you better than you. And no one knows you better than you. And no one can be a better you than you. So go out there and be unapologetic, live your life, and check out my business and life bundles in the comments. And I will see you on the other side.